Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, it's Bernadette Arena here with you on Sunday afternoon in early March. Perhaps you're watching it at another time. Welcome. It's lovely to be with you all in community again. It's been a while since I've been here in this in the ether with you all, but it's a joy to be here with you. Hello, Bunny. Just let me know how the sound is. I'm going to put on an air conditioner soon because it's getting warm where I am. But it's lovely to be with you. And today I want to share some things that I've been working on lately. That's the heart of the program at Quest, and my commitment to my own life is, how do I start again? Every time I fail, every time I lose it, every time I do something I don't want to do, how do I start again? More than the idea of a big start at the beginning of the year and setting goals, but how do we, again, in every single moment, just recalibrate, just change gears in our own mind for our own good health. So welcome to those of you who are here. Just someone let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm in a bit of an ad hoc kind of studio at the moment. My mum's art room, her sewing room and art room, and it's quite hot. So I'm just hoping the sound and the connection is all working here. So let's begin, as we always do, with a little meditation to come together. And then we're going to do some little bit of movement, because one way of resetting, restarting is to move. Another way of resetting, restarting is to notice what's going on in the mind. And we can do that with a movement, we can do that with a breath, we can do that with great compassion. But I'm a senior yoga teacher, been teaching for nearly 30 years now, 35 actually. And one of the biggest things that I recommend is being able to unpick our sense of self-worth from the contents of our mind, from our productivity, and to just begin again, right here, right now, with one breath. So let's do that with a little practice together. If you join me, please do let me know, someone, if you can hear okay. I'm a little bit late. I tried to get on the computer. Facebook's changed some of its settings. Computer didn't work. Computer number 2 didn't work. So I'm on my phone. So I'm just hoping that it's all okay. So let's come together in a little meditation. If you want to, you can close your eyes. We certainly don't have to do that. It can be a useful thing to do, is just let your eyes rest. I love the Kiwi expression, I've been eyes out all day. And I feel like that sometimes at the end of the day, I've forgotten just to recalibrate, draw myself in again, and it's exhausting. So let's welcome ourselves back. Thanks, Claudine. Thanks for letting me know you can hear. Really appreciate that. So if you're able to close your eyes, give your eyes a rest. If you're sitting, lying, standing, walking, whatever you're doing, just bring your attention right here, right now. And you can do that firstly by starting to just sense the body. I'm going to close my eyes as well. So just sensing your body, whatever your body's touching, whether it's the feet you can feel on the ground. If you're seated, perhaps you can sense where your body's making contact with that support. Perhaps you can feel the temperature of the air on your skin, the clothing touching your skin, and the way that your body moves each time that you breathe. And maybe there are sounds around that you can hear. Maybe you can even hear the sound of your own breathing. And just notice how the mind generally will drift into thinking of something else. And see if you can gently, tenderly encourage it to come right back here now. And just feel one breath, if you can, from the beginning through the middle to the end. Whether that breath is a long breath or a quick breath, a short breath, whether it's a shallow kind of breath or a deeper breath, however it is, just feel your body being moved by the breath. And if you would like, see if you can just sense the slight difference in temperature from the inhalation, slight coolness of the inhalation to the slight warmth of the exhalation. And that's all one need do, just to change gears. So maybe allow a fuller, deeper breath in now. We will come back to a little meditation together in a little while, but maybe bring your attention back. You might like to move your body a little bit and just notice how you feel. That was only a couple of minutes, 3 minutes or so. And already I feel more centered from the flurry of trying to get the technology right. So this morning, or this afternoon, I'd like to share a couple of ways of starting again that I like to do. My background's in yoga, so I like to work with the body. So here is a magic neck freeing exercise, and I imagine that some of us have neck and shoulder tension. And so this little exercise, it just blows me away how quickly that it works. So here's what I'd like you to try and do. If you're sitting up, just turn your head and look over one shoulder and notice what you see, how far you go. And then come back to the center. So I turn to my right, I can see, a painting right there. That's as far as it goes. I come back. Now you might need to do the opposite to me. I'm going to bring my right arm on top of my left arm, like I'm a genie, about to grant a wish. So I'm taking this arrangement. My chest is not going to move, but my forearms are going to move to the left only, and back to center. Hope you're joining me in this because I'd like you to feel the difference. To the left again, back to center. It's nice and slow and it's easy. You're not stretching. You will feel a stretch probably. You're not trying to make anything happen. You're just exploring this. We're always in any kind of movement, just setting up an invitation to the body to move. So over to the left, back to the center, let go, and then turn around and just notice. I just think that's magic. I can see a lot more, and I hope you can too. So let's do it to the other side. Turn to the left. I'm turning that way. It might look the right to you. I can see something just here. Back to the front. Now I'm bringing my left arm on top of my right, and I'm going to go to the right only. Chest stays in the center, head stays centered. Just moving the forearms to the right, maybe a bit lower than shoulder level if that feels better for you, then not too high. A couple of times like that. And then come back to center, relax, and now turn and just see. Now, I don't know, I'd love you to tell me if you felt that, but we've made a change in the big muscle. The trapezius is a muscle shape like that. It goes from the neck out to the shoulder and then down the back. So a big muscle like that. And neck tension is often generally caused because we've got tension in the shoulders. So that's a magic neck freeing exercise, and that's a way of just releasing a little bit of tension right here, right now. Here's another one for your shoulders. We're going to add tension. Most of us have tension in our neck and shoulders, I believe. So here's one way of just lifting up one shoulder all the way up, as high as you can go. You're not turning your head, you're keeping the head centered, and you hold that tension. And we're going to hold it for about, 30 seconds is a good amount of time. You keep holding it. It takes a little bit of effort to do that. Keep holding that tension. Couple more breaths. You don't hold the breath ever. But you keep holding, and then slowly, you don't just drop the shoulder, but you slowly, 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 slowly lower. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm feeling that that shoulder is lower than my other one now. It just feels a bit freer. So join me if you want to on the other side. Just lift up the other shoulder toward the ear. Don't take the ear to the shoulder. Hold it, not holding the breath, but we're just holding the tension, increasing the tension deliberately. And in this way, it allows these muscles to let go. It's quite useful. Just holding that and then slowly, slowly, slowly releasing. And just noticing what you feel, how you feel. I certainly feel a bit wider and freer across the shoulders. Now I'm going to just move my chair back because I've got one more movement for the shoulders for you, and I'd just like you to let me know how it feels. So this one, thank you, someone's happy with that. This one is to lift the arm up. I'm going to lift my arm up to shoulder level. I'm going to take the arm across my body. It's kind of don't know what happened there. Anyway, across the body, and then I'm bringing the arm up. My shoulder's a bit tight here, so I have the elbow bent. Take it out to the side and down. And let's try that a couple of times. Up to shoulder level, cross, reaching across. It's a reach forward and across. And then I bend my elbow, but you don't have to. Bring the arm up, out to shoulder level and down. We'll do one more. Three's a charm. Up to shoulder level, reaching across, stretching that part of the upper back. A lot of our neck and shoulder tension is because we haven't moved the thoracic part of the spine. So that makes a bit of a difference, a bit of a change, especially when we're driving or slumping in a chair or scrolling. So let's try that with the other arm. Up to shoulder level, reaching across, bringing the arm up, and notice if you can, this shoulder's much easier for me to make this circle. Reaching across, up to shoulder level, cross, stretching, bringing the arm up and down. And let's try one more. Good. Oh, I feel like I can breathe now. I certainly feel like I've down-regulated a little bit. I've shifted gears. One more movement for your body is to make like a cat kind of movement where we lift the chest and arch the spine a little bit, and then we round the spine a little bit. So if I show you front on, I'm lifting, I'm bringing my arms back, lifting the chest out. I usually breathe in then, and then I round my back out. And try that a few times. Lifting up and rounding out. So lifting up with an inhalation, arching the spine if you like, little cat movement in the chair, rounding out. Good. And just notice how that feels. So that's one way that I shift gears in my mind. Another way I'm going to talk about is moving, breathing, resting, practice of gratitude, and a sense of connection. Connection is incredibly important. And I have got some notes around me because, as I said, I had technical glitches, so I had to have a flurry of reaching for notes. But the first thing I want to talk about is how our mind is always looping, generally in an unconscious way, a subcortical loop out of our awareness, looping generally with a negative bias. Two things in the brain. We've got a confirmation bias and a negative bias. And, you know, we're programmed to have this negative bias. We always talk about that. So it's not our own personal failing that we have negative thoughts. But we are living in a culture that isn't helpful. The mind has its tendency to think about the future, fretting and worrying and fearing and anxious about the future, or be ruminating on the past. This is just what the mind does. We know that. And we're living in a culture where our attention has been stolen, our focus has been stolen. So I'm sure you've heard that it's great advice to be mindful, it's great advice to practice meditation, and how many of us just can't do it because our attention has been stolen. So it's not our fault. The human condition is that we're mesmerized with the contents of our mind, and the ability to watch the contents of the mind without getting involved is the superpower. That's the crucial bit. Anyone who's an expert on good mental health, on wellness, on living with joy, more calm, having a calm nervous system, talks about that. To watch what's going on in the mind, to note it, not get involved. We kind of turn our awareness back on itself, and that's our superpower. So noticing the mind, if we can't do it, if we're always getting caught in the thinking, it's not our fault. It's not our fault that we sit down to meditate and we get jumpy and jittery and we can't do it. Our attention's been stolen. We don't just live in an information economy, we live in an attention economy. The whole digital economy is all about having your attention. So our normal state of being is getting drawn into and obsessed with, getting lost in the thoughts in our mind, and we miss our life. How many of us do that? We get into this kind of unhelpful, critical, circular, generally pretty depressing thinking. So not only is the mind busy, it's got a negative bias, 5 negative thoughts to 1 positive, plus the cultural attention deficit. We can't concentrate and we get irritated, anxious, worried, fearful, fretting. I'm sure it's not just me. And so people who study the brain, yogis, neuroscientists who study the brain, all agree that this looping, circular, unconscious thinking, when it's unobserved, actually creates grooves in the brain, habits that exist, and we get caught in. It's really easy, but there's many ways to interrupt those grooves, to disengage from those trains of thought, to get off the carriage. And that we can do by, I've been doing it lately by slow conscious breathing, which I want to share with you. Lately I've been listening to music that has 528 hertz. You can Google it on YouTube, 528 hertz or 428. There's all kinds of different hertz, and I find that very helpful to shift gears from my activity, noticing that I'm getting caught up, rather than just trying to sit down and do a practice. I actually put on some music for 10 minutes just to shift gears, to down-regulate, to let my nervous system know, oh, okay, changing gears now. And then I find it much easier to sit and do a little mindfulness practice. Anything is an opportunity to come back. So sitting, listening to music, making a cup of tea, walking, breathing, all of these things are opportunities to start again. But the superpower is the ability to notice your thinking and not judge it. To notice you've been caught up thinking about the past. To notice you've been anxious, fearful of the state of the world. To notice you are looping around an argument that you had yesterday or last year or 10 years ago. To notice that, and without judgment, but with great tenderness. Oh, there I was in the future. There I was in the past. There I was going over and over it again. Just noticing that you're decoupling those neural pathways, those habitual states of mind. And when we do that, we actually stop the production of the chemistry that keeps those states of mind in play. So we're, in that moment, not producing cortisol, adrenaline, inflammatory chemistry. And one of the other things that's really important is that we need to commune with others. Very hard when we're feeling lonely, when we're feeling isolated, when we're feeling depressed. very hard to think about reaching out. But this kind of community that we have here on the Quest Facebook page, this kind of community is essential. I remember reading recently that one of the Buddhist teachers from I think it was 1950s, Ajahn Chah, he said that there's always talk about the next Buddha that's coming, said to, like the second coming of Christ, there's another coming of the Buddha. But he said the next coming Buddha won't be the Buddha, it'll be the Sangha, which is community. And that is the most important thing to get us through this torrid time, is community. So whatever we can do to reach out virtually, but also in real life, to create connection. And that's connection with people and communities that are also practicing this taking back of our attention, this taking back of our awareness, not losing ourselves and not being divided. Okay, so all of the great, just a bit of history really about this, all of the great spiritual traditions, the great religions, all talk about our inherited dysfunction. That in the Buddhists talk about suffering, the Hindus call it Maya, illusion. In the Christian tradition, it's sin, which the original translation of sin is living unskillfully. So, and all of these traditions agree that it's urgent that we transform our attention. And they all agree that it's the ego or the sense of I or the voice in our head that gives us trouble. The voice in our head, the stories that we tell ourselves, that negative bias, this stream of thinking. There's not a lot of difference between us and, I saw someone recently, a fellow walking down the street, speaking out loud, just a torrent of words, crazy kind of thinking, and everyone was giving him a wide berth. And I thought, he's just saying it out loud. Most of us have that torrent of thoughts and stream of consciousness stuff going on in our head, unobserved most of the time. This fellow was just doing it out loud. So that incessantly active mind is where most of our suffering comes from. And the mind always identifies with the things in it, our ideas, our memories, our the past stuff, the future stuff, a sense of ownership, wanting more, going towards stuff, going away from stuff, our roles, all of that. And one way, again, another way to start again, to interrupt, to press the pause button, is to try and sense the inner body. Eckhart Tolle talks about this all the time, but let's try it right now. If you were to sense your hands, if you didn't know the word hands, without looking at them or moving them, can you feel your hands? Can you sense them? Just take a moment now. Eyes open, eyes closed. Maybe easier with your eyes closed. Can you just sense your hands right now? Is there anything, can you feel any warmth, tingling, sense of aliveness is what I notice, a sense of pulsing, sense of vibration almost. And when we put our attention, and you can start with your hands, and the practice is to build from the hands and then place your attention somewhere else, maybe your feet. Maybe you can sense your feet, the inside of the feet. Not just the muscles, tendon, bones and joints and all that, but the aliveness, the sensation of feet, not thinking about them, just noticing them. And then you expand that if you can. That's the lifetime practice. How do you expand that to sensing the whole internal body? And when we're sensing the inner body, when we're feeling the sensations of the inner body, we're not in the mind. And that's one way of just separating, decoupling from these neural pathways, these habitual states of mind. And that's how we start again. Another way that I like to practice is to focus on my breath, but because my mind wanders so much, lately I've been using my hands and just touching the tips of my fingers with each breath. So I will, have my hand on my lap generally, but I'll breathe in and out, and I just touch my fingertips. And then the next breath, in and out, and touch my fingertips, and so on. And I will do that for 10 breaths. And it can take a few minutes to get through that. Your breath will start to slow down. But just having this physical practice of touching a finger with each breath is really potent, really calming, gives your mind something else to do, and you make a little break again. So that's another thing I've been doing lately, just to create that gear shift. As we're in this sort of crazy, hot world, divided world, chaotic world, authoritarian world, and how do we meet that? We can't meet that from the state of mind. So I like to just come back to basics. I've been teaching yoga for a long time, and everyone always comes back to, I can't sit, my mind is crazy. Well, we're not alone in that. And so a practice like just breathing and touching the fingers just gives us a little focus and makes the transition from the unnoticed mind to the present moment very much easier. So let's try a breathing practice that I also like. And one of the ways to, again, create that gear shift where we can start again is to create more tension. Generally, we're carrying around a lot of tension, and one of the ways to relax into a breathing practice is to create more tension. So I like to take a double breath in and tense my whole body and hold the breath in. And then I breathe out. I'm sorry I lost you there. Technical glitch. Who knows why? But here we are again. I hope that I've got you again. Yeah, I hope you can hear me. Please let me know if there's anyone out there. Sorry about that. Oh my goodness. I don't know what is happening here, but thank you for putting up with this. Hi, Di. Sorry I lost you there. Some little glitch. What I was saying was this double breath. So let's try this together. It's breathing in, tensing the whole body, and then when you're ready, so it's 2 breaths in through the nose, sniffing the breath in, tensing the whole body, holding it for a little bit, and then let's try that a couple more times. Helps to relieve tension, the tension I have about the glitches in my tech. Double breath in, and let's do one more. Good. And notice how you feel. Is there a difference there in how you feel after doing that breathing? I'd like to hear from you if you feel different. But let's close our eyes, and now that we've done that little breathing practice, let's just drop in and notice our natural breath. Maybe it's clearer to you. Maybe you can sense the temperature of the air coming in through the nostrils. Just noticing what you notice. And we're going to do a breathing practice, which is breathing in for a count, let's say 3 to 4, holding the breath in for a count, 3 or 4, breathing out for a count, 3 or 4, and holding the breath out for a count, 3 or 4. So we want to make a square breath, box breathing, you might have heard it called. So let's try that whenever you're ready. Breathing in for a count, nice kind of slow count, few heartbeats, hold the breath in, few heartbeats. Breathe out, a couple of heartbeats. Hold the breath out. None of that's a strain. If your breath isn't conforming to that pattern, go with what you've got. But just try that again. Breathing in, holding the breath in, breathing out, holding the breath out. A couple more times like that. And then let go of that pattern. Just be with however your breath is now. Maybe you can sense something going on in your body. Maybe you feel calmer. Just noticing what's there. And noticing how that feels. Is there a change in your energy? Is there a change in how you're feeling in the body? Is there a change in what you're feeling in your mind? So creating a moment to start again is changing our physiology. And we do that by moving, by doing a breathing practice, or by doing a practice where we deliberately create tension and then release. And just a practice which involves the body, breathing using the hands. A practice where we're sensing the inner body, just sensing the hands. These are all things that you can drop into the day many times a day. I actually counted yesterday and I forgot. I got very busy involved in gardening, but I counted in a couple of hours in the morning 20 times. It was about 24 times that I just had to come back and get out of a loop of thinking, worrying about something, and just come back to right here, right now, and sense my inner body, sense the state of mind, decompress a little and just switch gears. So, and then I got kind of so lost in it, I just had to put on music in the background, that 528 hertz music that I mentioned, just to remind me and just to give my focus a more expanded sense. So I'm going to come back to other practices that we can do to begin again, but I just want to talk about the program at Quest, and maybe some of you have attended Quest, and I'd love you to let me know if you have. But one of the things I love about the arc of the week, and I'm talking about a 5-day program, every day, every session, there are so many chances to begin again. Not only when you turn up on a Monday and leave on a Friday, there's a chance to begin again, but the sense of being together in community, which is what I mentioned in the earlier video. Community is the way that we join in taking our awareness back. And that's the superpower that we need to live well in this attention economy that we live in. So we come in on a Monday, people are strangers. Or even if you came in, life-changing week, Di, I agree. I've been, I'm one of the senior, longest-serving facilitators apart from Wendy and Patria. And I haven't been at Quest for a while because of stuff that's going on in my life. But it is life-changing. And people who come back for a little top-up because they make that connection. So people come in, if we were to advertise it, you're going to come in, you're going to be vulnerable, you're going to show that vulnerability amongst all these strangers. It wouldn't sound great, but we have a way, it feels like a very safe place. You come into a protected setting. There's very safe kind of introductions. Even if you're someone who, gets nervous in crowds, gets anxious, you feel like, even if you get triggered, you're getting triggered with support around you, which is very different to most of our lives. We often get triggered and we don't have the support. So if we get a bit nervous or anxious, there are people there, there's good people around and all kinds of support. So many opportunities every day for, none of it is just a whole lot of theory. This is a psycho-educational program, but we practice everything that we preach. So many opportunities every day to live with a very changed nervous system, with a down-regulated nervous system. And you build up this repertoire very quickly. And because we practice many times through the day, little pauses, little moments, little shifts where we withdraw our attention and just come back to sensing and feeling right here now. Because we do that in community, it's kind of amplified, actually. So we come in, we tell a little bit of our stories in a way that feels safe and appropriate for us. We realise we're not alone. Sometimes we're with people with whom we resonate, and our stories are very similar. Sometimes we're with people whose stories are very different. And again, there's a common thread. We're all suffering. Everyone has their story. The shift in perspective is what makes the week magic, as well as very practical tools on how to navigate things like difficult conversations, difficult emotions. That's what gives us a lot of trouble. Experiencing many, many, many ways of soothing our nervous system, because when we feel anxious and upset and irritated and agitated, if you can remember, it's not just you that's anxious and upset and irritated and agitated. It's your nervous system that's anxious. It's your nervous system that's irritated. It's your nervous system that's agitated. It kind of depersonalizes it a little bit and makes it easier to make change. So we have very practical ways of understanding our habits, our ways of being, and how we came to be that way. We have very practical ways to take baby steps, and the little things aren't little. Making one change and embedding that can have incredible results. So we come in, we share stories. This is what's very good for the brain. We get very practical about relaxation, concentration. Some of us have massages. Our issues are always in our tissues. Some of us have good therapy, good counselling, heard one-on-one. We make connections, casual connections across the dinner table. There are many, many conversations. There's lots of opportunity to move the body. My recipe for peace is move, breathe, rest. Really, we do lots of that at Quest. We have lots of activities that, are just kind of fun. There's certainly more laughter than tears. We understand our stressors, what makes things worse, and we have a really come away with a good list of what helps us. And we've been witnessed in this change, and the arc of a week is just dynamic. And I don't want to give everything away, but if you can get yourself for a top-up or come for another program, I'm yearning to get back because I know that it feels like magic what happens in the group, but it feels like it's a transformation, and it feels like hope. And that's one other thing I want to offer you, is a sense of not just hope, but if we can cultivate a sense of faith in the efficacy of these practices, faith in the efficacy of moving your body, even if you're just rolling your shoulders, several times a day, even if you're taking a deeper breath, letting go of a breath, if you're counting your breath, if you're doing something to down-regulate, to shift gears, if you catch yourself in the future, in the past, and you can bring yourself back to the present through one of these practices, that's transformative. And I've lost my train of thought there, but it'll come back. It'll come back. I've lost my train of thought there. It was a good thought, I thought. But yes, your awareness of your anxiety isn't anxious, and your awareness of your fear isn't fearful, and our awareness of our anger isn't angry. It's awareness, part of us that's able to observe our experience without becoming it. That's the key to inner freedom, and that's what we practice over and over and over again. That's the transformation that happens at Quest. A shift in perspective, connection, because we've kind of lost connection. We live in our heads and we feel like it's we're the only ones suffering, but that sense of connection. And people often come away with a real sense of gratitude. And I want to just plug that here for you too. It can be a bit irritating when you're feeling low for someone to say, just practice gratitude. When you're in the pit of despair or in a depression, just practice gratitude can feel like a bit of a throwaway. But it is an incredibly effective tool to start making our mind a slightly nicer place to live in. And that's what we all want, right? So I mentioned we've got two sort of aspects of the brain, the cognitive bias and the negative bias. And if we've been living, counting ourselves as a negative person, it's not our fault. We've evolved to look for threat, and we're always seeing threat 5 times more than, advantage. But the cognitive bias, the confirmation bias, so confirmation bias and negative bias, the confirmation bias is we tend to notice what we already believe. Okay, confirmation bias, you tend to notice what you already believe. Your feed on Instagram or Facebook already know that. You'll only see things that you're interested in, right? The thing is, this is what we explore at Quest, we don't choose our beliefs, funnily enough. They come from our conditioning, from our environment, from society, from our family, from our experiences. And most of our beliefs are unconscious. And we look for things that mirror these beliefs. And that's what we see. So the practice of a gratitude journal or making a list is not to Pollyanna things and not to trivialize anything, but gratitude is just sort of starting a new belief so that our unconscious, the confirmation bias, can look for a new belief. And the act of looking and noticing just helps move the needle away from the negative bias. So I'm a huge fan of practicing gratitude, not for, trivializing anything. And it not to make us feel bad, sometimes you look back on a gratitude journal and you see, my life's actually good. Why do I feel so bad? But we're shifting the needle. And when you are feeling bad, you can look back on the gratitude journal and see, I'd forgotten I had that walk. Forgotten I heard that piece of music. I forgot I saw the dolphins. I forgot that. So it's a very effective tool for our toolkit. So please, The other thing we want to do is, and I hope that this is coming through, is lower the bar. Our expectations are just generally so high with, going to meditate, I need to focus. Just lowering the bar. If you can feel your feet on the ground for a few seconds, you've decoupled from the habitual rumination of the mind. If you can sense your hands in your lap, the aliveness and the sensation of your hands, you've decoupled from the automatic negative thinking. If you can have a commitment to practice, a calm, slow breathing for 10 breaths or 3 breaths every hour, you've lowered the bar on your expectations. And again, you've decoupled from automatic thinking, from unconscious thinking. It takes great patience, and it takes great a willingness to be kind to ourselves. We're living in a world that's so divided, and we're all feeling it, this intensity in the collective, feeling that that beautiful future just doesn't seem to be there. We've got increased violence, fascism, authoritarianism, and that's kind of become normal. And we're all feeling that kind of moral injury, I think. And it's become kind of normalized, this sort of sense that we're really getting very conditioned to extreme climate change, to extreme war, to extreme violence. And we haven't paused. Collectively, we haven't paused since the pandemic, where we all paused. And we forget to pause in our own lives. And so simple directives of just, the obstacle, I think, to practicing is thinking we've got to get somewhere, thinking we've got to achieve some deep experience. And it really just comes back to that idea of being in the collective. This is what we can do to change our inner state, which does have ripples out into the world. So I think that's how mindfulness and meditation can work for us. If we can change our inner state, it generally changes what's going on around us. And in all the ancient lineages, mindfulness and meditation were always taught in the collective, always taught in the collective. And when you were having trouble sitting and meditating and connecting, you had a community around there that was holding that space for you. So there's a lot of difficulty with the I've got to do it myself idea. But just take some of the medicine and a little bit of faith in the efficacy of the practices. You read the mystics of all religions, they all talk about the same experience that comes from these deep, quiet processes. They talk about calm, increased joy, increased focus, expanded awareness, living with greater delight. It takes patience, but you can have trust that these practices work. You don't have to look to the ancient mystics. Look to the modern ones, the neuroscientists, the ones who study the brain, the great luminaries. They're all on YouTube. Eckhart Tolle and all these people talk about just sitting, just taking some medicine, a pause, and starting again. So as I say, been starting counting on my fingers. Slow, calming breaths, breaths that just help us shift gears, and simple things. It moderates the breath, and it starts to moderate your sense of self. You don't have to do anything fancy, but you do have to have the idea that I'm going to be patient. And even if I just get a little glimpse of an expanded awareness, a little moment where I can let go a little bit, that's transformative. So that's kind of what I want to offer you today. I want to finish with a little bit of an eye exercise, and I found this really helpful when I'm feeling agitation. When I'm agitated, generally it's because of the thoughts in the mind, and when you engage the eyes, you can decrease that agitation and bring yourself back. And this is another way of just pausing. So a couple of good eye exercises is to cover one eye and take your other eye and look far into the distance, so away from the screen, for about 5 seconds, 30 seconds if you want to, right? Cover an eye, look in the distance, and then you bring a finger or a pen, I use my finger, close, and you take your awareness to the finger where it's in focus, and then you take your focus back out to the distance, and then back to something close, back into the distance, back into something close. That is really great for focusing your mind. Then you do the other eye. Another exercise you can do is to cover one eye and take the other eye up as far as you can. Take the eye down as far as you can. Take the eye to the left. Take it to the right. And then give it a little rest. And the other eye is near and far focus, where again you bring a pen or your finger and you look at the finger away from you, and then you slowly bring the finger in close, until it's maybe a bit blurry, and then you bring it into focus, and then you slowly take it away again and in close again. After you do that, you give your hands a little rub, create a bit of heat, and you need your glasses off to do this. Create a bit of heat, and then you palm both your eyes, and you feel the warmth of the palms on your eyes, and hopefully that feels pretty nice. So those eye exercises can be great. And another thing to, if you're really in it, if your mind's got you in a grip, is to bring your arms up, you can see your hands, and then take your hands out to the side so you can see them in your peripheral vision. Don't turn the head and don't move your eyes, but you can see your hands in your peripheral vision. You can move them, and then you take them where you can't see them. And then you bring your hands back to where you can just see them in your peripheral vision. Move them, and then come back. And that is a way of just getting you out of the mind and into something else, and using your visual field, which takes up a lot of real estate in the brain, is very useful. So I hope that has been helpful for you. I just want to make sure I've got nothing else to talk about with you. I think something else you could take with you is, and again, as a senior yoga teacher now with 35 years of practice, one of the biggest relaxation tips, I think, is not just relaxation, not just doing yoga, but learning how to unhook your sense of self-worth from this idea of being productive. Unhooking yourself, and especially now I've been away from work for a little while, and so this sense of, who am I if I'm not what I do? It's a big question for a lot of us in this culture. If we can unpick our sense of self-worth from productivity, that's a big game changer, because this capitalist society that we live in, it's all about you either got to be consuming or you've got to be producing at every moment. And if we don't learn how to unhook that and just sit with the discomfort of doing nothing, we might find that all the things we do to relax, whether it's cooking or knitting or going walking, going to the gym, part of the brain wants to make it more productive. So we might walk and listen to podcasts, which can be enjoyable, but part of the brain wants to make it more productive. And then all the joy kind of gets sucked out of our relaxation. And relaxation just becomes another time to do. So, if you can unhook self-worth from the idea of being productive and become comfortable with just being, just existing and not consuming or producing, there lies a sense of peace. And that again takes patience, and that again takes practice. So if you can move your body, hopefully some of the practices for your neck, the magic neck exercise will be useful to you. If you can move your body, you change your state. If you can focus on your breath, whether counting, whether tensing and releasing, whatever it is, you change your state, you make a pause, you begin again. If you can reach out and lower the bar, remember, it's only moments that make a difference. If you can have a little faith and cultivate faith that the practices work, and that even the people who've gone before you know that these practices work. If you can have patience, cultivate patience with it, and cultivate that sense of connection, because the way that meditation and mindfulness and traditional spiritual growth practices were once taught was in community. So we need to create a sense of community somehow. And last of all, gratitude as a way of just making our mind a happier place to be. I think that's really key. So look, I'm sorry the program today got interrupted. You might be watching this in two parts. It's a bit disjointed, but I've loved being with you. I haven't seen any questions. I've seen that a few of you are there, and I'm really grateful to be hanging out with you. And I look forward to our paths crossing again sometime soon. So thank you, go well, and I look forward to connecting again. Lots of love. Bye.